Grimora.
I was 34 years old the night I found my own grave. It wasn't supposed to be on Route Mason 12, a quiet forest road I had driven hundreds of times from my night shift at the mill back to my small cabin near Hillcrest. But the fog that night wasn't normal. It came fast. Too fast, rolling over the road like thick smoke pouring from a burning building. My headlights only punched a few feet through it. Everything beyond that was a wall of white. I slowed to a crawl, gripping the wheel tight, and that's when I saw the fork, a split in the road that never existed before. I knew this route better than my own backyard. There was no left turn ever, but tonight one appeared, a narrow dirt path leading into the trees, glowing faint blue as if someone was walking down it with a lantern. My stomach tightened. This wasn't right. This was wrong in a way my bones understood before my mind did. But my hands turned the wheel anyway. Not because I wanted to, because something pulled me. The fog sealed behind me like a door. Now the blue glow flickered deeper ahead, weaving between the trees. I followed it, step by step, breath by breath. The air grew colder, quieter, too quiet. Even the crickets had stopped. Then the forest opened into a clearing, and that's where I saw her. A girl, barefoot in the mud, pale blue dress soaked through, hair hanging forward like a curtain. Her shoulders trembled. Her hands were folded across something on the ground. I stepped closer, slow, cautious. She wasn't kneeling. She was lying down, lying across a grave. My stomach dropped. My skin tightened, because on the headstone, lit by the faint moonlight, was my name. Not just my name, my full name, middle initial and all. And below it,
a death date carved only 6 days from today. My throat closed. My breath hitched. This had to be a prank, a hallucination, a nightmare. But the girl slowly lifted her head. Her wet hair slid aside, and I saw her face. Not rotten, not monstrous, just wrong. Her eyes were too wide, her skin too pale, her lips too blue, like someone had drowned her and then pulled her out just moments ago. She looked directly at me, right into me. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "You came early." I stumbled back. "Who are you?" She didn't answer. She just placed her head gently back onto my grave, as if resting on my chest, and whispered through the earth, "She's waking up." The ground beneath her shifted. The soil rose and fell like something was breathing underneath. My breathing broke. The mound trembled again and again. Then a small crack split the dirt. A pale fingertip pushed through. My heart slammed into my ribs. There was something under that grave, something alive, something rising. Lightning flashed. For half a second, I saw the girl's face clearly. Her cheekbones, my sister's. Her mouth, my sister's. But her eyes, not human. not even close. She whispered one last thing before sinking into the soil, vanishing like she was swallowed whole. She wants your life. The dirt collapsed. The ground bulged upward, and a hand, pale, long-fingered wrong, broke through. My grave was opening, and something, was climbing out. The hand pushing up from the grave didn't move like a living hand. It twitched, slow, jerky, like nerves trying to remember how to fire after years of silence. The fingers curled backward first, then snapped forward with a sharp crack. I stumbled back, heart pounding against my ribs, hard enough to bruise. The soil split wider. Something beneath it shifted, a body turning, rising, dragging itself upward through the coffin wood that creaked and splintered under its weight. I froze. Every instinct screamed, "Run!" but my feet were glued to the ground. Then a whisper brushed the back of my neck. "Don't look at her eyes." I spun, but no one stood behind me. Only fog. Only trees swaying slightly as if something large had moved through them seconds ago. The voice. It wasn't the girl who laid on my grave. It sounded older, worn, like someone who had been whispering secrets underground for years. I turned back toward the grave. The hand was gone. What rose from the dirt now was a face. My face. Almost. Its features were a distorted copy, as if someone had tried to sculpt me from memory, but got small details wrong. The eyes were too large, the mouth too wide, skin too pale, stretched thin as paper over bone. It stared at me with a hollow, broken smile. A voice bubbled out of its throat. "You came early." The same words the girl said. I shook my head slowly, terror strangling my breath. "No, no, this isn't real." But the creature pushed higher, shoulders emerging, neck cracking to the side at an impossible angle. Its collarbone protruded like it had been broken long ago and never healed. Then it spoke again, this time with a tone that made my blood freeze. "You weren't supposed to see me until you were inside. Inside the grave, inside the coffin, inside death." I stepped back 1, 2, 3 steps, and my heel struck stone. A second headstone, old, cracked, covered in black moss. Before I could read the name, the ground beside me shuddered. Roots tore upward. Vines snapped free from the soil, writhing like living snakes around the grave. The creature pulled itself fully out now, body soaked, dripping with dark mud, arms too long for its torso, legs trembling under its own weight. It stood barely, then its head jerked with a wet pop as bones reset.
its eyes locked onto mine. "You shouldn't have come here yet," it whispered. "You haven't died." My chest tightened. A gust of icy wind hit my back. No, not wind, breathing. Someone, or something, was standing inches behind me. Slowly, freezing air pulled inward. Slowly, it exhaled again. I didn't turn. I couldn't turn. The creature in front of me, my distorted copy, lowered itself, crawling toward me on all fours, joints cracking with every movement. Behind me, another whisper, "Run." I finally spun, and the girl was there. The same one who had been lying on my grave, but standing now, tall, dripping with water, her dress clinging to her thin frame, her hair plastered to her cheeks, eyes wide, afraid. She grabbed my wrist with icy fingers. "If she reaches you," the girl whispered, "you won't leave this forest." The creature lunged forward. The girl yanked me hard, pulling me with a strength she shouldn't have. We ran through the trees, into the fog, branches whipping at my arms as the forest closed behind us like a mouth. The creature screamed, a sound like drowning, a sound like soil filling a throat, a sound like death waking. The girl didn't look back. She didn't need to. "She's out of the grave," the girl whispered. "And now she wants the life the headstone promised. My life."
The girl's grip on my wrist felt colder than the air itself, not the cold of winter, the cold of deep water, the cold of being 6 feet under. We ran through the forest, branches tearing across my sleeves, roots scraping my shoes. The fog tightened behind us like a closing fist. Every breath I took felt heavier, like the air didn't want me breathing it. I finally gasped out, "What is that thing? Why does it look like me?" The girl didn't slow, didn't look back. Her wet hair slapped against her shoulders as she ran ahead of me, pulling me like she knew the forest better than it knew itself. "She's not you," she whispered sharply. "She's what the grave made for you." What does that even mean? Quiet. The way she said it, so immediate, so final, froze the air in my lungs. We both stopped. The forest went still. No wind, no leaves rustling, nothing. Then, heavy footsteps, slow, dragging, wet, coming from where we'd just escaped. Closer, closer. The girl crouched low behind a fallen tree, pulling me down with her. Her fingers dug into the bark, trembling. "Don't look," she breathed. "No matter what." I wanted to ask why. I wanted to ask what happens if I do. But the footsteps grew louder, and the questions died in my throat. The fog swirled between the trees. The sound of mud shifting followed close behind. Then I heard it, a rasping inhale, a broken exhale. The creature was close, too close. I shut my eyes, held my breath, tried not to shake. Branches cracked. A low gurgling sound echoed, almost like a growl, almost like someone choking. The girl pressed her forehead into the bark beside me, whispering very faintly, "She sees by sound now. She hears your blood." My pulse hammered, hard, loud.
The creature stopped moving. It was listening. I could feel its presence, like a weight behind the fog, like something tall and wrong standing just beyond the fallen tree. My throat burned from holding my breath. Then the creature exhaled. The air vibrated in my bones. The girl dug her nails into my wrist to stop me from reacting. A faint crunch of soil, a shift of weight.
The creature was turning, leaving, step by slow step, dragging something behind it. We stayed completely still as the footsteps faded into the trees, then got swallowed by the fog. The girl finally let out a slow, trembling breath. "She didn't smell your fear," she murmured. "You're lucky." "I'm not lucky," I whispered back, shaking. "I'm supposed to die in 6 days. That thing crawled out of my grave." The girl turned toward me. Her eyes, they looked older now, tired and filled with guilt. "You saw your grave early," she said softly. "You weren't meant to." "Why not?" "Because the ritual wasn't finished." My stomach tightened. "Ritual? What ritual?" She held my gaze, and for the first time, she looked ashamed. "The one I ran from." The forest seemed to lean closer. "My grave," she whispered, voice breaking, "was the first one. Mine was supposed to be filled, but I escaped it." Her fingers shook against the bark. "And when I broke the ritual, the grave needed a replacement." Her eyes locked onto mine. "You were born the same day I died." Everything inside me dropped. "What does that mean?" I asked, barely able to breathe. "It means," she said quietly, "your existence filled the gap I left behind." She stood slowly, pulling me with her. "She's tied to you. My failure made her yours." I swallowed hard, my mind barely able to keep up. "So, what happens if she catches me?" The girl stepped closer, her face inches from mine, her voice barely more than air. "She takes your place in life." "And me?" Her expression didn't change, but her voice did. "You take hers in the grave." A branch snapped in the distance. Not far at all. The girl grabbed my hand again. "She's searching," she whispered, "but she's not the only one waking tonight." "What do you mean?" She looked past me, deep into the fog, where something vast and dark shifted between the trees. "The grave that made her," she said, "is rising too." My blood ran cold. Another branch broke. Something huge inhaled. "Run," the girl whispered. "We're not safe here anymore." The girl didn't wait for my next question. She yanked my hand and pulled me deeper into the trees, away from the clearing, away from the open grave with my name carved into it, away from the creature wearing a broken version of my face. My legs burned, lungs aching, every breath scraping like cold needles through my chest. But she ran faster, moving with an unnatural urgency, like something was pushing her from behind. Finally, we stopped near a ring of old pines, their trunks twisted inward, roots tangled like knuckles gripping the earth. The girl pressed her back to one of the trunks and motioned for me to stay quiet. Her eyes flicked left, then right. She was listening. I leaned close, whispering, "What is that thing? And why is she me?" The girl didn't speak first. Her jaw tightened.
Her breath trembled. "She's not you," she said quietly. "She's your replacement." My throat tightened. "What does that mean?" The girl's eyes softened in the faint moonlight, a mix of sadness and guilt. "The grave needs a soul, one soul to rest and one soul to walk away." I frowned. "I don't—" She raised a shaking finger and touched the center of my chest. "When I died, I ran from my grave before my ritual was complete. My soul, my place was supposed to be sealed." Her gaze drifted toward the direction we'd come from. "But I broke the rules. When I ran, the grave didn't just lose me, it lost the balance." I swallowed hard. "Balance?" She nodded. "A grave that opens without closing will search for a match, a substitute, a life born at the moment the ritual failed." A cold wave rolled through my body. "You were born the same day I died," she said softly. My breath stalled. No, that can't mean—" "It means you inherited what I abandoned. And she pointed into the fog where shadows shifted, "is the soul the grave made for you, the one meant to take your place." My stomach twisted. "So she's trying to kill me?" The girl shook her head slowly. "No, she doesn't understand life or death." Her voice cracked. "She's trying to be you." A distant sound echoed through the forest, a dragging step, mud shifting, branches creaking under something heavy. The girl grabbed my shoulders. "When she touches you, even for a second, the exchange begins." "Exchange?"
She takes your breath, your voice, your place, and you take hers." Her eyes shimmered with fear. "In the grave." My pulse pounded in my ears. "How do I stop her?" "You can't stop her," she whispered, "but you can stop the grave." The ground beneath us shuddered, barely, like something enormous had taken a long, slow breath. The girl looked down at the roots around our feet. "It's waking," she said. "Too early, too angry." Branches behind us snapped, one by one, like fingers breaking. The fog parted, and the creature stepped into view. Her hair hung in thick clumps, dripping soil. Her limbs moved wrong, bending like ropes instead of bone. Her face, my face, stretched into a crooked, unsettling smile. She opened her mouth wide, too wide, and breathed in sharply, as if tasting the air for me. The girl pushed me behind her. "Don't let her get close," she whispered urgently. The creature staggered forward, swaying, twitching, like something new trying to learn how to walk. Her voice gurgled from deep in her throat. "Your breath belongs to me." The girl grabbed my wrist and tore me away just as the creature lunged. We ran. Branches ripped against my arms. Roots clawed at my shoes. The forest itself felt angrier, alive, closing behind us. The girl cried out suddenly, "There! The ravine! Go!" I didn't see it until the last second, a deep cut in the earth, black and jagged like a wound. We slid down the slope, dirt flying around us. The creature reached the edge above us and let out a sound that curdled the air. A scream that didn't come from lungs,
but from somewhere buried far below the earth. The ground trembled, hard. The girl looked back up, eyes wide with terror. "It's not just her," she whispered. "It's the grave. She woke it." The earth above us cracked, soil sliding, roots breaking. Something enormous shifted beneath the trees. Something that had been waiting for decades. Something that wanted its ritual completed. The girl grabbed my hand, voice shaking. "If we don't reach my grave before she does, you won't live long enough to see your death date." The forest roared behind us. The creature leapt down into the ravine, and we ran, deeper into the darkness.
The ravine narrowed as we ran, the walls tightening like a throat closing around us. Roots dangled from above, some snapping loose and whipping against our faces, others hanging like skeletal fingers reaching for our clothes. The girl held my wrist with a grip that felt stronger than bone, as if fear itself was dragging us forward. Behind us, the creature slid down the ravine wall with a wet scraping sound. She didn't climb, she didn't walk, she crawled, limbs bending wrong, body jerking like a puppet being forced upright for the first time. Every time she moved, her bones clicked, click, click, click. Her head would sag, then snap back up unnaturally, always returning to that broken, chilling smile. "She's close," the girl whispered. "Too close." Her distorted voice echoed down the ravine. "Stop running. I need your place." I stumbled, my foot striking a loose rock. I fell hard onto my hands, mud splashing against my arms. The girl dropped to her knees beside me instantly. "Don't look back," she warned, gripping my shoulder. But I couldn't stop myself. I turned and saw her, my twisted reflection, crawling toward us on all fours, her fingers digging into the mud like hooks, pulling herself faster and faster. Her eyes were wide and unblinking, glowing faintly with a pale, dead light. I scrambled up, heart pounding. "I can't outrun her forever," I gasped. "You won't have to," the girl said. "We're almost there." "Where?" "My grave." Lightning cracked overhead, illuminating the ravine for a split second, and I saw it. Nestled deep into the wall of the ravine was an old headstone, nearly swallowed by tangled roots and earth. The engraving was faint, weather-worn, but the name was clear. Emily Moore. My legs nearly gave out. "That's my sister's name." The girl's breath trembled. "I told you, we're connected, more than you know." Wind rushed down the ravine, carrying the creature's voice with it. "Lee." I froze. The creature was calling the girl's name. The girl stiffened. "She knows what I left behind," she said bitterly. "She's calling the part of me she wants to finish." The creature moved faster, jerking, twitching, dragging her body forward with terrifying desperation. The girl pulled me toward the headstone. "Touch it," she said. "Hurry." "Why?" "Because it's the only grave that belongs to me, the only grave that can break the ritual." My hand hovered over the stone, inches away.
The creature hissed. "Don't." The girl turned to face her, stepping between us. "Stop! You're not finished!" The creature's head snapped sideways, bones cracking. "You took my death," she rasped. "Now you take my life." She lunged, I pressed my palm flat against the headstone. The forest exploded. The ground shook violently, throwing both me and the girl backward. The creature was hurled into the opposite wall, shrieking as roots coiled around her limbs, pulling, tightening, dragging her down. The headstone glowed faintly beneath my hand, warm, alive. The girl gasped as if someone had punched the air out of her. Her voice cracked. "She's losing the bond. We broke it, but not completely." Roots burst from the soil around us like veins seeking blood. The ravine walls pulsed. The creature screamed. Not a human scream, but something ancient and furious. She dug her nails into the dirt, trying to pull herself free. She wasn't trying to reach me anymore. She was being pulled away. "No!" she shrieked. "No, no, no!" Her fingers bent backward as she clawed at the mud, her jaw unhinged, her face contorted, begging, fighting. The girl grabbed my arm with icy hands. "We have seconds," she barked. "You must finish this." "How?" "Say her name." "Whose?" "My name," she whispered. The ravine roared. The creature's body cracked as roots pulled her deeper. The girl screamed, "Say it now!" My throat tightened. My heart hammered. My voice barely escaped my lips. "Emily!" The earth split beneath us, swallowing her name, the roots, the grave, and the creature, dragging them all downward toward the ancient, waking thing below. The girl collapsed beside me, clutching her chest, trembling violently. The ground began closing, but the silence that followed wasn't victory. It was warning. A deep, distant rumble rose from the earth. The creature was gone, but something larger, older, hungrier, was rising in her place. The girl's voice cracked as she whispered, "We broke the tether, but now we woke the grave." The ground shuddered again. A massive shadow rose beneath the ravine floor. We weren't done. The ritual wasn't over. Something far worse was coming.
The ground beneath us didn't just shake this time. It breathed, a long, slow inhale that sucked the wind out of the ravine, pulled leaves down the slope, and made the trees bow as if something massive was rising below them. The girl, Emily, grabbed my sleeve with trembling fingers. "It's waking," she whispered. "Too early, too angry." The last of the roots dragging the creature disappeared underground, sealing her fate. But the rumbling didn't stop. It deepened, a heartbeat, slow, heavy, ancient. Thump, thump. Each beat vibrated through the soil beneath us and into my bones. I stepped back instinctively, but Emily held me tight. "Don't run yet." I stared at her, terrified. Why? We just broke the ritual. Shouldn't everything be over? Emily shook her head. "No, we broke the exchange, not the origin." Her voice cracked. "The grave didn't create her. It created something before her." My breath hitched. Before her? Emily looked at the ravine floor, where thin cracks spread like spiderwebs across packed dirt. That's the original soul the grave claimed, the first death, the one that anchors everything. Lightning flashed overhead, and in that split second, I saw something beneath the cracks. Something massive, something with a shape like a body, but far too long, far too stretched, far too wrong. It shifted. The cracks widened. Large hands, bigger than any human hands, pressed up against the underside of the earth. Emily yanked me backward. "Move!" The ravine floor split open. A massive arm burst upward, thin, skeletal, covered in gray, cracked skin, roots wrapped around it like veins. Soil dripped from the fingers as they clenched, pulling the rest of the body upward. My pulse hammered. "What is that?" Emily's voice shook like she was freezing. "The grave," she whispered. "The original grave spirit. It's been starving for decades." The giant, twisted shape rose higher, head drooping, hair hanging like dead vines, limbs too long, too brittle-looking, yet strong enough to tear through stone. Its empty face lifted toward us. No eyes, just deep, hollow pits, and a mouth stitched closed with what looked like black sinew. My stomach rolled. Emily clutched my arm. "This thing doesn't want to replace you," she said. "It wants to claim you."
The creature's mouth twitched under the black stitches, straining to open. Not lips, the whole jaw pushed downward unnaturally. Crack, crack, each stitch ripped one by one, bleeding dark soil as if filled with dirt instead of blood. A low groan escaped its throat as the final stitch snapped. The jaw unhinged, opening wide enough to swallow my entire head. Emily shoved me aside just as the creature's arm swept through the air, a violent gust knocking loose stones from the ravine walls. "Run!" she screamed. "We need to get out of the ravine, now!" We scrambled upward as the giant form dragged itself fully out of the earth. Its body, if it could be called a body, was made of twisted limbs and skeletal branches, a fusion of corpse and tree, decayed and ancient, moving with purpose. It roared. Not like the creature before, this sound was deeper, a sound that felt like pressure crushing my brain, like thunder screaming from underground. I reached the top of the ravine and pulled Emily up behind me. The monster climbed after us, its fingers digging deep trenches into the earth. Emily gasped, "It's free! This has never happened. It's not supposed to touch the living world." The thing lunged upward, its arms stretching farther than any bone should allow, fingers snapping as they extended toward me. I jumped back, barely avoiding its grasp. The ground where its hand landed caved inward from the force. The creature pulled itself higher. Emily grabbed my face with both hands. "You'll die if it takes you. Do you understand? It won't turn you into a reflection. It will bury you alive." My breath burned. "How do we stop it?" She stared into my eyes, haunted, terrified, desperate. "There's only one way," she whispered. "One final way to break the ritual completely. Tell me." Emily pointed toward the woods, toward a small clearing marked by a thin beam of moonlight breaking through the trees. "That's where my heart is buried. The night I died, they tore it out for the ritual. If you find it, if you destroy it, the grave loses its anchor." I swallowed hard. "And the creature? It will collapse," she said. "Everything bound to the grave will collapse." Another roar shook the trees. The creature climbed out of the ravine, fully risen now, towering above us. Branches snapped as it straightened its back. Its jaw cracked sideways. Its mouth stretched open, dripping black soil. It saw us, and it began to run. Not crawl, not drag, run. Emily grabbed my hand. "Go! Now! Find the heart before it replaces yours." We sprinted into the trees as the ancient grave spirit thundered after us, each step shaking the forest as if the earth itself was fleeing with us.
Emily and I tore through the forest, breath ripping in and out of our lungs, the roar of the grave spirit shaking the trees behind us. Every step it took sounded like the earth itself breaking open. Branches whipped across my face, roots nearly caught my ankles, but Emily kept pulling me forward, toward the clearing where moonlight spilled in like a spotlight. "That's where it happened," she gasped. "The night I died. The grave needs my heart to stay open. Destroy it, and everything ends." The ground behind us erupted, the grave spirit's arm slamming down, sending a shockwave through the soil. Emily stumbled, but I caught her. "Keep going," I yelled. We burst into the clearing. A perfect circle of moonlight glowed in the center. At first, the ground looked like any other patch of dirt, but then I saw it. A small mound, no bigger than a dinner plate, pulsing faintly, like something underneath was still beating. Emily dropped to her knees beside it. "Hurry," she whispered. "She's coming." The grave spirit's roar bellowed from the forest edge. Trees swayed. Branches cracked like splintering bones. My heart pounded. "How do I—" Emily placed her cold, trembling hand over mine. "You'll know," she whispered. "Just remember me." She squeezed my hand, and for the first time, her face softened. Not pale, not ghostly, but warm, human, like the sister I lost long ago. The ground behind us shook violently. The grave spirit burst into the clearing, towering, skeletal, mouth hanging open as if stitched by shadows rather than thread. Its chest expanded, the air sucked inward like a vortex. It was preparing to swallow me whole. Emily screamed, "Do it now!" I plunged both hands into the soil. The dirt was soft, warm, like touching flesh. My fingers hit something smooth, wet, pulsing. I gagged, tears burning my eyes. It was a heart, still beating. I grabbed it.
The grave spirit shrieked, a tortured, ancient howl that cracked the sky. Emily pressed her forehead to mine. "End it," she whispered. The grave spirit lunged. I crushed the heart in my hands. It burst like rotten fruit, warm, thick black blood exploding over my fingers. The ground screamed, the forest screamed. The grave spirit collapsed mid-lunge, its limbs folding inward like dying branches. Its mouth opened wide, but instead of breath, dark soil poured out. The earth sucked it back, dragging its enormous frame downward, roots snapping free, trees bending violently, and then silence. The grave spirit was gone. The air stilled, the wind stopped. Only the moonlight remained. I turned to Emily. Her form flickered, light passing through her, fading. "No," I whispered. "Stay with me." She smiled. That soft, gentle smile I remembered from childhood. "I can't," she said. "The grave took me long ago, but you broke its chain." "Emily?" She touched my cheek, her fingers barely solid. "Live," she whispered, "for both of us." She began to fade, her outline dissolving into the moonlight, her hair lifting like smoke, her voice drifting like a final breath. "I'm proud of you." And then she was gone. The clearing looked normal again, calm, empty. My heartbeat slowed. My body shook, but I was alive. The grave, my grave, was gone. I stumbled back toward the forest edge, the dawn just beginning to rise. As I reached the road, I looked back one last time. The fog was lifting. The trees stood still. The clearing looked untouched, as if the forest had wiped away every trace of what happened. But my hands were still stained black with the remains of Emily's heart. I wiped them on my clothes, but the stains wouldn't fade. Not that night, not the next night, not ever. A reminder, a warning, a memory carved deeper than any headstone. I lived a life borrowed from a girl who never got to finish hers. And somewhere in the soil of that forest, her heartbeat had finally stopped because mine kept going.